Hey everyone, welcome to the Team Hardcore Call. My name is Janelle Summers and it's June 1st. So we're at the start of a new month. We've got fresh goals, we've got a fresh start. No matter what happened in May, you've got a whole month to start fresh and gain some new momentum. And this topic is one that has come up like at least 3 times in the last week. And it's one that I've actually trained on several times before, but I haven't recently. And knowing that it's come up a lot recently, I know that we need to talk about this again. And it is attracting go-getters and motivating your team. And when I first started this business, and some of you have heard this story a gazillion times, but I'm going to tell it again because I know a lot of you haven't, or maybe your coaches haven't heard it. First, let me just adjust my computer. There we go. Okay, so when I first joined this business, many of you know that I was gung-ho. I was all in. Yes, I had a full-time job, and being a mom and a wife, I was super busy. So when I say I was all in, that doesn't mean I had 24 hours a day to work this business. I didn't have that at all. I had very little time to work this business, but mentally, I was all in. And it's because I had done my research prior to joining the business, and I understood what it was about, and I loved what this business is about. I still love what this business is about. I love that at the heart of this business is hard work and not taking shortcuts and not finding the easy way out, and really, using fitness to build your self-confidence and to have that stress release in your life, and to, eat healthy and live this healthy lifestyle. Is a whole package of what this business is about and what Beachbody is about that drew me in. And that's why I will never go to any other company. And so I just thought, I get what this business is about. I love what it's about. And then I kind of needed to understand, how does it work? Like, how is it that these other people who had joined way before me were becoming so successful and, building a lucrative income, and some of them being able to quit their full-time jobs? I was like, how is that happening? So I did my research, I figured all that out. And by the way, if you're still at that point asking those questions, make sure you ask your upline, because I feel like in order to want to work this business, you need to understand it. Otherwise, it's just like this floating thing where you're like, yeah, that sounds great. It sounds too good to be true, but I don't really get it, and I don't really understand why, and so therefore it's not worth my time, and it just kind of floats off your radar. So if you're asking any of those questions, make sure that you understand how this business works, because once you understand it, you're like, okay, I just need to put in the work, and I need to be disciplined, and I need to have consistency, and I need to know it's going to take time, and I need to enjoy what I do, and I need to stick with it and not give up, and I need to have realistic expectations and realize that it's not going to happen overnight. Okay, so that's just setting the stage for where I was when I started the business. And so one thing that I didn't know when I was at that point in my business, I didn't know that as you were building a team of people who said they really wanted to also work this business and seemed just as excited as I was, that some of those people weren't actually going to work the business. They weren't going to get on my team calls. They weren't going to open my emails. They weren't going to show up at the trainings that I held at my house or at other places. I actually at one point rented out a computer lab and said, let's go and I'll show you how to navigate your online office. I did everything I could think of to motivate my team and to train them, because, they had said they wanted to work this and they were excited about it. And I just embraced that and took that as set in stone. And I just couldn't understand why they weren't opening my emails or showing up to trainings. So, I really started to beat myself up about that. I really started to think, I'm just not motivating enough. I'm just not attracting the right people. I'm just not giving them enough information, or I don't know how to help them. I just really was beating myself up. And so I know some of you, I'm guessing some of you might be at that point, and that maybe you don't know this story. By the way, if you are asking questions along the side, I cannot see them. I've never figured this out. If any of you know the answer, please let me know. But as a presenter on these, I can't see the live chat on the other side. So definitely ask me your questions in the Coach Success Facebook group under that pinned post where I pinned these trainings. So anyway, I was at that point, and I was about 6 months into my business, and I had probably, I'm gonna guess, around a dozen coaches at that time, give or take some. I'm not sure exactly the number, but it was right around there. And I already, by that point, 6 months into my business, I'd already had some coaches who had joined and already quit by then, by the way. And my upline, Christine Dwyer, had given us the awesome opportunity to go to a training and hear from Craig Holiday. Now, many of you may or may not know that Craig Holiday is a network marketing guru. And so I flew out to California. Mental note right there, I invested money that we did not have to fly out to California and hear from that network marketing guru. So make mental note. Yes, you have to make sacrifices. Yes, you have to invest in your business. Anyway, so I did that and listened to him, and my mind was just blown. But before I went, my sister, who's always given me the harsh truth, she was like, you know what? You need to figure out what questions you would want to ask him in case you have the opportunity to ask him questions. I'm like, that's really true. But I only have one question. One question. How do I motivate my team? Like I'm just pulling my hair out. Like I just felt like I could not do any more. And I knew that the people that I had on my team were way smarter than me, way, in some cases more brilliant, in some cases more fit. One of my coaches at the time, she had a amazing success story with Turbo. She had lost over 50 pounds. She had become a super popular fitness instructor. She had become a personal trainer. She was voted the city's best body. She had a huge following, local to me. And you would think, and she had a need for this business. She's a young girl and she wanted to get into the fitness industry more. And I mean, so there was a need, there was, everything just seemed perfect, right? Like she should be rock star. She should be that type of coach where you're like, oh my gosh, that's the go-getter I want to attract. She did nothing with the business, and she did end up quitting. So I was like, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what more I can do or how better of a rock star to bring onto my team than someone like that. And so I just was beating myself up. And so my only question to Craig Holiday was, how do I motivate my team? And so I did have the opportunity to ask that question. And he said, quite frankly, stop trying to motivate your team. And he said it like, duh. He said, you can't motivate other people. All you can do is equip them and lead by example and keep doing what you do. Keep adding to your team. Those people who are ready to take this on because they have that fire in their belly will be there. It'll be a small percentage, but as long as you equip them with the tools and the vision and you keep leading by example, you keep being that example that you would want your other coaches and team and customers to be. You keep being that example. And those people, it's just going to end up being a small percentage. They will come out of the woodwork. Stop trying to motivate and drag your team. Keep moving forward. And I was just like, to me, it just, the clouds separated and I was just like mind blown. I was like, thank you. It just released so much off my shoulders. A ton of bricks off my shoulders. Is that the saying? Anyway, I felt so good after leaving that conference, and I'm not even sure what else I learned. I know I learned a lot, but that was the one thing that has stuck with me ever since. And so I no longer let it bother me when I bring someone who I think has, in fact, pretty much all the coaches I bring on my team, I think could be rock stars. I'm one of those people, like I see things and people, I feel like I see things that they don't see, don't you? Like you see things, you're like, oh my gosh, you would be so good. Like I'm drawn to you. You're so inspirational. You're this, you're that. And they just don't see it. But every once in a while, someone this business and what we're about and what this business can do for them, it hits them at the right time, and they're in the right mindset to accept it, and they are really willing to go all in, and they want to work this. They want to become emerald. They want to become, because they want to become diamond, because they want to become not necessarily the ranks they care about, but they want to build a big business. They want to be able to, do the things that top coaches are able to do and get all the benefits that this business can give, which are obviously not just financial, but they're all in. They get it. Those people are out there. And I'm just here to tell you that you cannot prejudge what a go-getter is going to look like, act like, or what their social media following might look like at the time. You're not going to know. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. I've had people join me. I had this one woman join me, very sweet, and we really connected. And she actually had been on a TV show, and a reality TV show, and she had this amazing transformation with Insanity, and she had a big social media following, and she had started a blog, and a lot of her content was about fitness already, and specifically a lot about Insanity. And so, oh my gosh, right? Like that's the go-getter you want to attract, right? Perfect person, right? She didn't even go emerald. In fact, I don't even think she ever went active. Never got on a training, as far as I know. Never asked me a single question. Never responded to any of my emails once she ended up joining. The list goes on. She didn't engage at all. And when I reached out to her, she was just like, oh, I'm good. I'm just busy right now. She just didn't dig in. And so, again, it just goes to show you, if you think you're looking for a certain mold, you're going down the wrong path. What you need to attract are good people who are like-minded. And some of those good people who are like-minded will be like this woman who was on a reality TV show, and maybe in your situation, she is in the right mindset and wants to dig in. I'm just saying, don't assume that one situation is going to be better than another, because you just don't know. You can't prejudge it. All that really is a commonality of go-getters is that they are a positive thinker. They are self-motivated, okay? They have a fire in their belly, and that is something that you cannot necessarily see. You do not know what is going on behind closed doors for this person. You don't know the kind of possibly nightmare that they're living that they need to get out of, and this is their way. You may not know that. And so while you may be talking to someone that doesn't seem to have their profile is actually private and on Instagram, and they're not even on Facebook, and they're not on YouTube, and you're just kind of in your head going, okay, don't check that one off, cross that one off. In your head, you're thinking not a go-getter, not an ideal prospect. Not true. Maybe not true. Maybe they won't do anything with the business. They might crush it. I'm telling you, I promise you that some people will totally surprise you. You have to get to know people. So what you have to do is attract good people who are like-minded. So, with this whole story, the bottom line is kind of two things. Number one, I want you to stop thinking that you need to do more to motivate and train your team. Now, that's not to say that you don't have some improvements to make. We all do. I certainly do, all the time. We all can do better at equipping our team with vision and tools, right? But I don't want you to think that the fact that you don't have any go-getters on your team is because you haven't done enough. Chances are that's not it. And number two, you need to have more people. You need to keep adding more people to your team. Just letting them know what this business opportunity is, knowing that you're not responsible for their success. You are there to let them know that the opportunity exists, and let them know that it's their business to do with it what they want to do, and that you will be there to help point them to resources and to equip them when they need help, but it's their business. You're not responsible for their success in business, just like you're not responsible for their success in fitness. People have to be self-motivated because we can't be there to hold their hand 24 hours a day. And when things get tough, we can't be there. They do have to be responsible for their own success in fitness and in business. We are there to help guide them. We're there when they cry out for help. We're there to point them to the resources, point them to my JanelleSummers.com training team. You know, we have tons of resources to point them to. So we need to be there for them, of course. And we want to create that team culture, and that's all going to help too. And we need to lead by example. All these things are going to help. But I just want you to realize that it's not necessarily that you're not doing enough, and also that you just need to keep adding more people to your team. It is, I hate to say it, but kind of like a numbers game, because it is only going to be about 10 to 20% of the people who join your team who actually end up digging in. And once I heard that number, it just was like a huge relief for me, because again, I kept beating myself up for why this talented person who has all the potential in the world wasn't doing anything with their business. And I know they need it, like really, really need this business. And they weren't doing anything. It was just kind of crushing me inside. And so knowing that it really is only 10 to 20% that are going to be in the right time frame in their life and in the right mindset in their life, and just kind of all the stars align, and they're like, I need to dig into this. I've got this amazing opportunity in my back pocket and I need to go for it. And, you know, so 10 to 20%. So think about that. So when I was meeting with Craig Holiday, and like I said, I only had like a dozen coaches at the time. My frustration, one of my frustrations, my big frustration was that I really only had like one coach, kind of two-ish, sort of three-ish, but really just one coach who was really digging in, really showing up every day, really engaged, asking questions, you know, just everything that I wanted. I had one. And the other 11 had just as much potential and just as much, you know, desire when they joined, but they weren't. It was just this one. And that was Corey Miller, by the way, who I just recently gave a shout out because she hit the Million Club. So it was Corey, and no one else was really engaging the way that she was. And I just, here I should have just been so excited about Corey and bringing more people on and showing them Corey. And instead I was so bogged down with, but why so-and-so's not? Why so-and-so's not Emerald? Why is so-and-so not even active? Why, you know, I just kept bogging down with all the who wasn't, instead of being excited about who was and just moving forward. And so one other thing that I have, my point with that was that's 10%, right? So now I would say that as far as how many of my coaches actually dig in and engage, I would say it's much more close now to 15 to 20% of my coaches. Why? Because I've gotten better in my systems. I've gotten better, like in my systems of having, like, obviously we have a regular training call every week. I have systems in place to get people started, to continually equip people. So you get better at these things, but you don't get better if you're not bringing people on your team. Let me just say that. You do not get better at all those things. You don't get better at your systems. You don't get better at getting people started right. You don't get better at training your coaches. You don't get better at giving them vision. You don't get better at giving them advice when times are hard if you're not continually adding to your team. You get better at all those things if you are continually adding to your team, because you get more and more practice with it. Now I'm to the point where there's almost no situation that I haven't already dealt with, you know, that any coach comes to me with or says, hey, I'm not gonna be able to work my business because of this, and I'm sure it's just gonna, and I'll say, hey, so-and-so as an example, this is what happened to her. Like, I've got practice now. I've got experience with it now. You won't get that. All of these processes won't get more smooth and comfortable until you do more of it. Duh, right? But for some reason, coaches who are just bringing on like one coach a month or one every other month or one every 2 months, they're like, oh, it's so hard, and how do you get them started? And I feel all this fear and I just don't know if I'm a good enough leader and I just don't know. That's because you're not bringing on enough. You're not getting enough practice. You truly aren't. So I cannot stress that enough. So again, at that time when I met with Greg Holiday, I had that 10% that he said, that's normal. I was like, oh my gosh, it's normal. Again, just a huge sigh of relief. So I was constantly working to, I would rather obviously it be a higher percentage of coaches that dig in. And so I'm constantly working at getting better at equipping my coaches and giving them vision, finding new ways and having guest speakers and new visuals, new graphics, new trainings, whatever it is to help it click with people. Because you never know when that one coach who hasn't opened an email or saw a training for maybe 6 months suddenly watches or suddenly opens email and it's like, oh, they get it now. You just never know when that's going to happen. So you have to be really repetitive and find lots of different ways, but don't let it be your sole focus. You have to continually be adding to your team. And I'm actually speaking at the leadership workshop at Summit, and my topic is on recruiting, and specifically not really how to recruit, but the importance of recruiting and really having a benchmark for recruiting. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about is having a benchmark for recruiting being at least 4 to 6 coaches every single month if you are someone who really wants to build a big business. 4 to 6 coaches per month. Now, you know that in all the trainings we say, if you want to build a big business, you need to be introducing this business opportunity, the true opportunity of working the business. You need to be planting that seed with at least 3 to 5 at a minimum per week, plus following up with them, plus building relationships with them at a minimum. So we know that statistic. We know the statistic that out of every 10 that you are talking to and you've planted that seed and you've been following up with, approximately 1-ish, maybe 2, maybe 3, will end up eventually joining the business. Maybe not that week or that month, or maybe not even this year, some of them, but 1 to 3-ish of each group of 10 are going to end up joining your business. So that means you have to be introducing the business opportunity, planting the seed a lot, and that if you are doing it that much, you will end up having at least 4 to 6 coaches who join you every single month. And you can be making Success Club from that. You'll be earning all the Beachbody rewards that you can earn from that. You'll be rank advancing from that as long as you are duplicating your trainings and telling them to do the same thing. And you will have team members who are changing their lives and their families' lives because now they have a lucrative business, a thriving, successful business based on health and fitness, their own health and fitness, and helping other people in theirs. Beautiful, right? If you do this business right, it all works out so beautifully. I'm not saying it's easy. It is not easy. The reason it's not easy is because it takes discipline. You have to message people when you're tired. You have to message people when you're not in the mood. You have to post on social media when you don't feel like posting. Just an example, side note, this morning I did my workout. I was in my dark basement. The pictures and videos in my basement are just not good. The light reflects off the mirror and the lighting's not good. It's just, But so often I take the easy route and I do my video or my picture or whatever in that room. It's just not good, you guys. And so finally today I thought, you know what? I'm doing this training today. We are going to talk about attraction marketing, so hang on for that. And I thought, instead of showing some of the things that I did for my workout today in this dark space, I need to go outside where the sun is shining bright. There's greenery. It's obviously going to make for such a better photo in someone's newsfeed to see that versus this dark basement. I didn't want to do that, you guys, because it would have taken me 2 seconds to get my picture or video over with right where I was, right? But to have to take it outside and set it up outside and make sure I've got, it set up on something high enough and blah, blah, blah. I knew it was going to take me an extra at least 15, 20 minutes to do that. But I said, I need to do that. That's the kind of stuff we need to do. We need to take that extra effort because everyone's doing photos and videos in dark spaces and, in their living room or whatever. Like, you have to do some things that'll stand out. And I'm not saying, like I said, I do that sometimes too. I'm not saying always be perfect. I'm not saying always take the extra 10 minutes to put the makeup on. I'm not saying you always have to do that. But I would say 80% of the time, take the extra effort and time to put your best foot forward, your best picture forward, your best video forward, okay? 80% of the time. So yes, maybe 20% of the time you're a hot mess, you don't have your makeup on, or you do show, you know, your actual workout space or whatever. Let people know you're real. But when it comes to attraction marketing, so let's get into attraction marketing here real quick. When it comes to attraction marketing, and that's what we're talking about here, we want to attract good people who are motivated, believe in themselves, and have goals like we do, right? That's what we want. So when it comes to attraction marketing, we're not talking about your warm market, remember. Your warm market people, your friends and your family, they're good, like with whatever you post. You post a picture of you, you know, doing some crunches next to a pile of laundry, they are good with that. Like you just post, you know, a picture of your dog, they are good with that. Like they are good with stuff, right? That's your warm market. The people who really have known you for a long time, they know, like, and trust you, they're good, right? So there are certain posts, and I've heard it from many of you, and I experienced it myself too, where you're like, I don't get any traction on this, but when I just post my baby or my puppy or just blah, 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 you know, my friends and family really react to that. That's good. So you do want to do some of those. But when it comes to attraction marketing and attracting some of those go-getters that live on the other side of the country, or they live in Canada, or they live in the UK, those people don't know you. So they only know what they see. Okay. So if you want to grab their attention, and this is my opinion, I really feel like, again, you really do need to put your best foot forward. That's not to say, again, that sometimes you won't, you know, do the, this is the real me, no makeup, this is whatever, that you won't do that sometimes. That's good too. You got to mix some of that in. But I really think like 80% of the time, I'm just kind of throwing out that number, you need to put your best foot forward. Now, if I were to look at some of the coaches who really do a good job at cold market attraction marketing. Couple examples. Number one, and she's in our downline. She's one of my coaches. She's Ashley's coach, Angie Bellamar. Angie Bellamar on Instagram. So Bellamar is Bellamare? Or is it Bellemare? If any of you know, please put it over in the side chat. But Angie Bellamar, her Instagram is beautiful, like beautiful. And I'm not saying that you need to do that. In fact, let me be clear, that's an example. You need to do you, okay? She has a specific brand, and it's her, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than it's her style. It's things that she's into. But what's clear is the photos. The photos are very clear. They're eye-catching. Now, if I were to give like an exact, like kind of opposite style, but still eye-catching, her brand, Amy Silverman, okay? Her photos, much darker feel, but an artsy darker, not like I have no lighting in my basement darker, an artsy kind of darker, like a creative darker, like a deep thinking darker, like there's a mood to her pictures. That's what I mean by that. Now look at Angie Bellamar's. Hers are like bright tropics, strawberries, pink smoothies, pink flamingo floaties in her pool, that kind of a thing. Don't think for a second that she doesn't, you know, put time and effort in those photos, right? So that's Instagram. Now, Facebook, pretty much the same type of photos catch someone's eye when it comes to attraction marketing, cold market. Now, you still will see from both examples, them just being themselves, no makeup, or I feel heavy today, or whatever. You're gonna see them wearing their heart on their sleeves. You have to do that. So, two things I want to make sure is clear with attraction marketing. Number one, there are two things, maybe there's three things. Number one, if you aren't doing it, if you're still just appeasing your warm market, it's time to step it up because your business will struggle. You typically, if you're just appeasing your warm market people and you're like, but that's where people are liking on stuff, you got to go into that uncomfortable zone. Get out of your comfort zone and start posting on your like page and doing ads and YouTube, especially when it comes to the UK market. I really feel like YouTube is going to be a big one. I feel like people will be Googling things. And, if you're visible or you're doing ads, so ads and Google, your cold market, also meaning the UK, is going to be more likely to come across you, right? So don't get too comfortable in your warm market, even though you may be getting some traction there. You have to put some more time and effort in your posts and make them eye-catching and put some thought behind it and how it looks visually. And keep this in mind. Usually people's eyes are attracted to white more than dark. So whenever you're going to take a photo, just think of bright and light and white. If you can get that into your photo somehow, that's what you want. That's why when I started doing pictures of food, I made sure I went out and bought white plates because I knew that white background was gonna grab people's attention. That's a fact that people's eyes are gravitating towards white. Okay, so the other two that are so important with attraction marketing, number one is positioning, okay? How are you positioning yourself? If you are always positioning yourself as disorganized, you don't really care about how you look. I hate to say it, but I mean, people do. I mean, that's why we all know that when we go to a job interview, we've got to look our best. We've got to take a shower. We've got to put our best foot forward. It's a fact of life, like it or not. You've got to put your best foot forward. And that's how, because this person that's interviewing you, it's the first impression. And that's the same thing with your cold market. It's their first impression of you. So if you are always just looking like you just rolled out of bed, it's not that those people won't relate to you. They will, but they might not be inspired to join you or inspired to do what you do. So realize there's two things there. There's people that relate to you and connect with you, and that's great. But then there's also people who relate to you, connect to you, and they're really inspired by you. They want to be more like you. They want to learn from you. They want to do as well as you. So if you're always just putting out there yourself when you're not at your best, then you might miss that other market of people, in my opinion, okay? So the one was positioning. And I think positioning, if I were to give you a little graphic, I would branch that out into two things. Your brand, in other words, what your pictures look like, the message that you're always sending, your uniqueness. Do you take care of yourself? Are your photos taken against a window versus a window behind you? Like, so do you look bright? Do you look energized? Do you look refreshed? Do you look healthy? Because I know you are. So you want to look that way, right? And I know that's how you feel. So you gotta convey that. So your branding, your style, your attitude, your messaging, that's all your branding, your history, who you are. Okay. And the other piece of that is the value that you provide. Like, are you just making statements about yourself, or are you saying things that really speak to where you used to be? Because that's what people need to hear. Are you saying things, are you using the language that you used to use? What are some of the negative things you used to say to yourself? What are some of the negative things that used to happen to you? What are some of the things that you've struggled with that you've overcome? Are you speaking in that language? Because you want to be able to resonate with someone who hasn't experienced what you've experienced yet. I mean, hopefully coaching has done so much for you, and you've got, because of personal development, because of fitness, and because of living healthier, you've overcome so many hurdles in your life, and things have gotten so much better and are continually getting better. But speak to that person who needs that in their life too. Okay. So positioning is brand, and it's also what kind of value are you adding? Are you doing free groups? Like, for example, an example of, okay, where was I prior to coaching? One of the issues that I struggled with big time was being a carbaholic and being a chocoholic. And so that's why I really feel like I've had great success with doing my groups that I've called Sugar Busters, where we're just trying to cut down on sugar. And I really feel like the things I'm able to say in that group and the things I've said in promoting that group, it's true to me because it's what I dealt with a lot. And so I know what they're thinking, those people who are addicted to carbs and processed carbs and sugar. I know what they're thinking because I've been there. So again, don't everyone go out and do a Sugar Buster group. In fact, if you do some kind of similar group, call it something different. Everyone's got to be original, be unique. I specifically called it a Sugar Buster group because I'd never heard of that before. Think of something unique. Do something that really speaks to your past, something that's close to something you've experienced so that you can really have a lot of fun doing it, because it is so tied to who you are and your experiences. So the second thing was invites. So many people do great with attraction marketing, like they really do. I'm like, you are hitting the nail on the head. Your photos look great. Your content's great. Like, I love following you. Like, awesome. But there's like no invites there. At least not that I see on Instagram or Facebook. There has to be calls to action. And obviously, in addition to that, there's got to be a lot of inbox messaging going on. There are days where you might only see, like I might have one post on my like page, maybe two, and maybe like one post on Instagram. But it's because a day I've done so much inbox messaging. Okay, you have to be doing the inbox messaging. It is more important probably. I don't know if I want to say more important. It's at least as important as those public posts. Because, and here's another thing Craig Holiday told me, and I'm almost done now. I said to him, if I have like 5 people in my head, I actually had them on a list, that I know would be great at this business. Do I invite them to like a business opportunity meeting where I explain to them, on PowerPoint or whatever, what this business is all about? Do I get them together and explain it to them? And he said, no. You meet with each one of them individually. So now we don't necessarily meet with people because we're talking to people all over the country or whatever. At least I don't. I talk to people on social media. I don't go to lunch with them. Talk to them one-to-one, because then you can address what is their specific need. Why would they want to put something extra on their plate, right? Most people are super busy as it is, and a lot of people are financially tight. So why would something that adds responsibility and costs some money, not a lot, very, very cheap in fact, but still it's money, why would they want to put that on their plate? They wouldn't want to unless there is something big for them on the other side. There's some big benefit for them. You have to connect what they need and what they want in their life to this business. You have to make that connection for them, or at least try. They might not see it, to be honest. They might not see it at all. In fact, they might see it, and then their mom, dad, brother, spouse says, don't do it. You have no control over that. You have no control over that. But you have to at least make that connection for that individual person of what this can do for them. And yeah, I will mention the discount that they, by the way, you also get a 25% discount on our products and programs, which that alone, if you even like Shakeology, that alone puts money in your pocket. So it's a no-brainer for that reason alone. But I still am leading with the amazing business opportunity that this is. And yes, I built it while working a full-time job and being extremely busy, because I understood that if I stuck with it, what this business could do for us and our family, and for all the people that I'm able to help, and my coaches that are able to do that for their families and their followers, etc. So you have to, number one, just to recap, as far as attracting the go-getters, it comes down to positioning, how you're positioning yourself. And so that branches off into how are you branding yourself? What does your social media content look like? And what kind of value are you providing to them? In what way are you connecting with them? Because you can build a huge following and not connect with any of them. If you're not doing like free groups or asking questions or polling them in ways that that trigger them to join you in something, or trigger them to inbox message you on something, or trigger them to have a conversation with you about something, if you're not doing those things, you're going to struggle. And so the other piece was the invites. You have to be doing invites to your sneak peek, or maybe it's to a webinar, or maybe it's to your free group, or maybe it's to your challenge group. You've got to be doing calls to action so that people are talking to you. And I just don't see enough of the calls to action. So the invites need to be, every now and then that you see on your Instagram or on your YouTube or on your Snapchat or on your Facebook, whatever social media platform that you like to work. But a lot of it, none of us will see, because it's behind the scenes. And those are the best. Those are really the most valuable, because they mean the most to the other person on the other end. So if your action list, last final point, your action list for this training, if you really want to attract go-getters, you have to probably clean up your social media. I need to do it too. I really do. I need to take a look at my social media. I probably need to take down that picture that I took of myself post-surgery, where my eyes are like completely dilated and my face is swollen and like I have a fever, so I'm like all red. I probably need to delete that. But no, seriously, you probably need to clean up your social media. We all need to improve on that. It's just something to constantly, these things I'm telling you, I'm not saying I'm perfect at by any means. I'm saying we all need to probably clean up our social media and take those extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes to make the picture, the graphic, the whatever it is, a little bit better. And I think you probably need to do a brain dump. Like, just get all your thoughts out there. What do you need to do? Do you need to have a plan for, are you going to attack Instagram a little bit more with like hashtags? Or are you going to attack YouTube a little bit more? Are you going to start attacking Facebook ads? Like, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this training. So do a brain dump so you can get it all down on paper, and then kind of prioritize things. Like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this week. And then next week it'll be this. And next month it'll be that. Like, get it all down. Otherwise you're just going to, like, too much. Where do I even begin? Okay, so clean up your social media. Do a brain dump. Prioritize what's on that list of things that you want to start tackling. And then make an action plan, again, with those priorities. And I think, hopefully, I really think that, when it comes to attraction marketing, I think you really need to include some Facebook investments. And I feel like you need to probably be on YouTube as well. That's just my own personal feeling. And for those of you who are delving into Snapchat, definitely check out unwrapsnap.com. And I think that's pretty much the message I wanted to give to you today. So I really appreciate for you all getting on. And if you have any questions, and if I forgot to say anything that was in my notes, I know, I can see one thing right now: discount coach. Be aware of the discount coach. When you bring someone on your team and you basically called them a VIP member, and you've right from the get-go labeled them as a discount coach, in your head, I personally feel like in your head, you've kind of put them aside and you're ready to move on. You put them aside and you're ready to move on. And I personally think that's dangerous, because I really feel like this whole, aiming to recruit people who just are in for the discount is really, it's good for the person. And if that person wants to be a coach for the discount, by all means, they should do that. But you are doing them a disservice if you have not told them the amazing business opportunity that this is. And if you have not told them that you are there for them as soon as, or if they're ready to start working this business. I don't mean push it on them, but I think you need to make it abundantly clear that they own a business. They can totally sit on it if they want, but it's an amazing opportunity. One of my top coaches, Meg Kozlowski, she came in and she was like, no, I think I just want to do it for the discount. But don't think for a second that I wasn't like, you would completely rock this. Like, I was continually planting that seed that she could build this business. And she, about a year later, made up her mind. I didn't do anything different all of a sudden. She made up her mind. She was going to dig her heels in and friggin' go for it, all in. I can't control that, but that's awesome. But thankfully, she was still on my email list. She was still paying attention to everything I was doing. She knew I had this incentive going for those who make diamond, and she made up her mind. She was ready to dig in. But thankfully, anyone who gets in the business, who gets kind of pushed aside and they're not involved in the team stuff, and they're not involved in the groups, and they're not involved in the team emails because either you have categorized them as a discount coach, never going to do anything with the business, or they have told you they're never going to do anything with the business. Let me just tell you that neither are probably true. Like, even if they tell you they're never going to do anything with the business, a lot of people say that as a defense mechanism. I don't want you to try to convince them otherwise, but I want you to just kindly say, well, just so you know, it's an amazing opportunity. And if and when you ever change your mind, I'm right here for you. You can start at any point. So always keep them in the loop with maybe different things that you're doing with the team. Like, let them have some fun with things that you're doing so that they can be engaged in some way, shape, or form. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for getting on the training today. I hope that this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions in our Coach Success Facebook group under the post that talks about this training. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great afternoon.